welcome back to the Mixing Mondays podcast, episode 12, man.
The first thing that I want to talk about is building chemistry. As an artist, the last thing you want is to walk into the studio and feel like you're recording with a complete stranger. You're a fish out of water and you completely feel like you're in a brand new space and you feel really uncomfortable. As an engineer, your job when the artist first walks in the studio, you got to be able to introduce yourself, let the artist know that you're here to help them and get to know them just a little bit. Little things go a long way. We got to keep in mind people at the end of the day are people. And what I mean by that is everybody has a different way of feeling things out. Everybody has a different way of processing emotions. Everybody has a different way of thinking. As an engineer, you got to do a good job of letting down your ego. It really honestly does not matter what your credentials are, who you've worked with in the past. All that matters is, are you a good person and are you able to understand the artist? Typically, a lot of my sessions, if we have a great conversation in the beginning of the session, usually we end up making the most fire fucking song ever. Talk to your artist, talk to your engineer, have a convo with them, get to know them, and establish that bond in the beginning. And then when the artist is in the booth, they will feel so much more comfortable because they feel like they know you and they feel like they trust you and they feel like they're able to let their guard down when it comes to, okay, let me just say what I gotta say with as much emotion as possible because I feel like I'm in a safe space. So when the artist is in the booth and you are recording, this is your chance as an engineer to really showcase your skills. So on episode 4 of my podcast, I've reviewed this before, but you do not want to be slow as fuck when you're recording an artist. If you want more on that, check out episode 4 on 3 mixing mistakes that repel clients. I have an episode fully on mistakes like this. This is your chance as an engineer to really get things right in the beginning. If you're quick and you dial in a good sound for the artist to really hear themselves back in the headphones and they like what they're hearing and they're able to catch a vibe immediately, this is going to help you gain your artist's trust, man. Other than that, you got to understand the artist's flow. As an engineer, you're supposed to catch on to the pacing of the artist. If you're not matching the pacing of the artist, then you could throw the artist off and you can overwhelm them or you can make them completely get sucked out of the environment as well. You got to really figure out how an artist likes to record, whether they want more time before they start punching in a line or whether they want to start right before the line starts. Feel out their pacing and try to match their pacings. So that way you guys are both on the same frequency, on the same vibe, and it'll make the session run a lot smoother. And this goes hand in hand with being able to read a room. So sometimes in the recording process, when I'm dragging and dropping vocal tracks, I'll hear a part of the beat where maybe I can chop out and then I can add this drop on a certain part, or I can add a reverb throw on a certain part. And when I do that, I see the artists light up and they start to feel the song a lot more. And then they start getting more ideas off of that. So then they'll be like,
hey, I like the drop that you added here. Can you add it maybe 4 bars later into the song as well?
And then I'll add that. And then next thing you know, the artist lights up again and they start coming up with more ideas, maybe different ad-libs, different stacks. And this gets the session rolling. Do not be vanilla when it comes to mixing in the recording process. Some effects you might do might light up the artist for them to get hyped and then perform better or come up with more ideas. Add drops, add throws, add effects when you honestly feel like it and just see how an artist reacts. On the flip side, sometimes I will add a lot of effects and then the artist will tell me, hey man,
that's dope what you did, but I don't think we need it for this song. I don't really want effects.
I'd rather get that response and know for every future song that we do, he probably would not like a whole lot of effects. When he comes back into the studio, I automatically know how to dial in the sound. For the most part, if they react negatively to an effect, typically they like their songs more natural sounding. So get to know your artist in terms of what they like to hear and what they don't like to hear. And also you got to keep in mind to know when to speak and when not to speak. Sometimes when you're recording a song and an artist really just wants to flow and get bars out and you're here trying to fuck with the talk back and trying to communicate too much on what he's doing wrong and all this, you can completely get him thrown off and he will never hit the perfect take. Sometimes, as an engineer, it is best to let the artist control the pacing of the session. So some artists will actually tell you, hey man,
stop it here. Hey, punch me back in. Hey, let's redo that. Keep that.
And this will be your cues to, all right, I'm not even going to say too much and I'm just going to go with the flow of things and start dragging and dropping stuff. Other times when an artist is lost and you can tell as an engineer, oh man, maybe this dude does need just a little bit of help or just a little bit of confidence, then that is your time as an engineer to, all right, let me use a talk back and try to help him out a little bit. You can't overdo that though, so let the artist kind of feel it out and give him words of affirmation of, hey man, you got this shit, just try it again and we're going to get it right. Sometimes this will help the artist progress through the song and move on from ideas. Aside from that though, let's talk about the fulfillment process. The better you could translate the song in the mix process in the end, and the better that the artist reacts to it, the more fulfillment they're going to get and the more chances that they're going to trust you with their sound. And there's things aside from the mixing process that will help with this fulfillment process. For one, you got meeting due dates. So if the artist needs a song back by a certain date, you got to give that song back to them at that date, or they're going to be questioning what the fuck happened. It's going to get to a point where they're going to ask you, hey man, where's my song at? And some artists, they're patient, and some artists, they're not patient at all. So you got to get their song back ASAP. And if you don't, they're going to go find somebody that will get their song back ASAP. But if you cannot meet a certain due date, you got to be able to communicate that with them and be like, hey dude, I'm going to be a little late on that project. If that's okay, let me know. And in most situations, as long as you communicate with the artist that you're going to be late, they'll typically be fine with it. If you don't communicate at all and you're just late as fuck and you just ghosted the artist, they're going to be questioning in the back of their mind, like, what happened to that song? And you don't want them to feel like that, because then they're not going to trust you no more. So communication is key. Following up is key. When you send over the mixes or the masters, ask them, hey man, what did you think of the song? Do you know if we need to make any changes? And so on and so forth. If you follow up with them, typically this will make them feel like, okay, I feel valued because he wants my opinion. So don't be afraid to receive feedback when it comes to sending your songs out. I'm going to end this podcast here, man. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions on how I run my sessions or you want to mix, hit me in the comments or follow me on Instagram or email me on my email. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, and I'm going to catch y'all on the fucking next one, man.